A lonely human trucker took in a dying alien woman. Now she guards his life. The Sparrow soared through the edge of a nebula, soft colors dancing outside its windows. Inside, John sat at the pilot's seat, one hand on the controls, the other holding a steaming cup of tea. Selah stood beside him, wrapped in her familiar blanket, eyes wide as she looked out at the glowing clouds. "It's beautiful," she said softly. John nodded. "First time I came through here, I was running from debt collectors. Now I'm just flying." Selah smiled. "Flying feels better." He glanced at her. "How do you feel, really?" She thought about it. "Like I was broken before. Not anymore. I feel new. Not just alive, but like I belong." John leaned back. "Good. Because I was starting to feel the same." They spent the next few days fixing the ship, cooking cheap food, and laughing, something neither of them had done in a long time. But they knew peace never lasted forever. Not in the stars. Not when power still hunted the weak. One night, while John was asleep, Selah stood by the main console. She placed her hand on the ring socket again. The ship's eye flickered. "Recognized user, Omega Spark. Accessing hidden files." Selah watched silently as a new map appeared. Old coordinates. Ancient markers. One planet blinked red. She leaned closer. And then smiled. The next morning, John found her in the cockpit. "You're up early," he said. "I found something," she said. "Something left by Strax's creators. Something older than me." "A vault." John raised an eyebrow. "What kind of vault?" She looked at him. "A place where others like me were hidden. Failsafes, survivors. Maybe children." John's face turned serious. "And you want to go there?" Selah nodded. "Not just for me. For them. If they exist, they need help. They need someone to tell them they're not weapons. They're people." John looked at her for a long time, then smiled. "Well," he said, "I've got a ship, a warm blanket, and no better plans." She laughed and touched his hand. "Then let's go." 3 months later. The galaxy had changed. Whispers spread through ports and stations, rumors of a girl with silver skin and glowing eyes, and a human who walked beside her without fear. Some said they stopped slavers. Others said they broke a prison ship and freed 24 test subjects. Some even claimed they shut down an old black site, where children were still being made into weapons. All the stories had one thing in common. Hope. Inside a busy station, on the edge of wild space, a small alien boy huddled in a corner. Cold, alone, shaking. People walked past him, ignored him. Then a warm blanket was placed around his shoulders. He looked up. Selah knelt beside him, her eyes soft. "You're safe now." Behind her, John smiled gently. "Come with us. We've got space." The boy nodded slowly. Selah helped him to his feet, holding his hand. Back on the Sparrow, the boy curled up in a seat with a warm drink. John piloted the ship quietly, while Selah watched the stars. "We're building something," she said. "Not just saving them, giving them a home." John nodded. "A ship full of strays and fire," she grinned. "That sounds like a good story." He looked at her. "It already is." Far away, in the deepest part of the galaxy, old machines stirred. Long dormant lights blinked. A voice, forgotten for centuries, whispered, "Omega Spark detected." Awakening the others. And deep underground, eyes opened. Not just one. Many. The Sparrow drifted alone in the silence of space. John sat in the pilot's chair, staring out the window, eyes blank. His hands gripped the ring Selah had given him tight, like it might slip away. Below him, Zereth Prime was nothing but smoke and fire. The tower was gone. Strax was gone. And Selah. He had lost people before. But this was different. She wasn't just someone he saved. She had saved him 2 hours past, maybe more. John didn't eat, didn't sleep. Then a beep, a soft, quiet chime from the ship's console. He blinked. A message. It wasn't from Strax. Not a bounty alert. Not a threat. It was from Corin. If you're reading this, then the girl did it. I felt the energy pulse from here. That tower's fried. Good work, old man. But I don't think she's gone. Come to Grid Station 9. Bring the ring. There may be more to her story than you know. John sat up. His heart thumped hard in his chest. He opened the map and found the coordinates. It was deep space. A mining zone long abandoned. But if Corinne believes Sella could still be out there, he wasn't going to waste a second. 3 days. Later, the Sparrow landed on Grid Station 9. The place was dark and cold. Metal walls rusted. Old mining gear scattered. No signs of life. But Corin was waiting. He stepped out of the shadows, arms crossed. You look like hell, he said. John didn't smile. I buried hell. Corin nodded. Come with me. They entered a chamber deep underground. Blue lights glowed faintly on the walls. It was quiet, almost sacred. In the center was a pod. Sealed. Silent. Covered in frost. John stared at it, not daring to breathe. Corinne explained, after the tower blew, I searched the data left behind. Strax had a failsafe. If Sella ever reached her full power, her core would create a backup spark, a kind of imprint. A last defense. John stepped closer. She's in there? Not fully, Corin said. But something of her is, a memory. A spark, maybe more. John held up the ring. She gave me this, Corin nodded. She knew. She wanted you to find her. John walked to the pod. He placed the ring into a small socket on the side. The lights flickered. Steam hissed. The pod opened. Inside, curled like she had been on that freezing spaceport floor, was Sella, eyes closed. Breathing soft. Alive. John fell to his knees. Sella, he whispered. Her eyes opened slowly. She blinked. John? She said, voice weak. He laughed, a broken, joyful sound. You stubborn, glowing miracle. She smiled, tears running down her cheeks. I told you, she said. You gave me a blanket. I had to return the favor. He held her hand, warm, real. You don't ever have to save me again, he whispered. Just stay. I will, she said. As long as you let me. Back on the Sparrow, Sella sat wrapped in her old blanket. Her skin was brighter now, glowing gently with life. John made 2 cups of warm tea, cheap, tasteless but real. He handed her one and sat beside her. They didn't speak much. They didn't need to. Out the window, the stars stretched across the sky. No longer places to hide, but places to go. Together. Far beyond. In a secret chamber, a shadow watched through an ancient monitor. He saw Sella. He smiled. Interesting, he whispered. Very interesting. Then he turned away and vanished. The Sparrow floated quietly near a small moon, hiding in its shadow. Inside, John patched up the walls, working in silence. The ship creaked and groaned like it was tired too. Sella stood by the window, staring into space. Her reflection looked older, heavier somehow. She whispered, we can't keep running. John didn't look up. I know. They'll never stop, she said. And sooner or later, one of them will win. John sighed. Then we stop running. Sella turned. What? He stood and looked her in the eye. We don't run, we end it. She stepped closer. How? John pressed a button on the console. A map appeared, zooming in on a planet's Irith Prime, military vault world, he said. I hauled cargo there once, heavily guarded, lots of secrets. And rumor says that's where Strax stores his backups. Data, research, everything. Sella frowned. So if we get there and destroy it, John said, nodding, Strax loses his grip. No more program, no more control. And maybe he stops hunting you. Sella thought for a moment. That's suicide, John smiled. Maybe, but better to fight and fall than run forever. She stared at him. You'd do that for me? She asked. John nodded. You're worth it. Later. As the ship approached Zereth Prime, Sela sat beside John in the cockpit. Her blanket was folded neatly on her lap, and she wore a small smile. You know, she said, the day you gave me this, I thought I was going to die. John looked at her. I thought I was just giving away my last blanket. They laughed softly. Then John grew serious. We're not walking in guns blazing. We'll sneak in, plant a pulse charge, and get out. Sela nodded. And if we can't? Then we make sure Strax goes down with us. On Zereth Prime, the planet was gray and covered in lightning storms. A giant black tower stood in the middle of the wasteland. Metal walls, guard drones, searchlights. The Sparrow landed far from the tower. John and Sela walked under the stormy sky, their boots crunching through broken glass and ash. As they reached a narrow trench leading into the base, Sela paused. I feel him, she said. John turned. Strax? She nodded. He's waiting. Inside the vault, the halls were silent. Cold blue lights lined the walls. John held the pulse charge tightly. Sela moved beside him, quiet and focused. They reached the core room. Dozens of servers glowed with data. This is it, John whispered. He knelt and placed the pulse device. 30 seconds once I start the timer. Suddenly the door behind them opened. And Commander Strax stepped in. His armor glowed red. His eyes were colder than ice. You never understood, he said. She doesn't belong to you. She belongs to us. She's purpose. Power. Sela stepped forward. I belong to no one. Strax raised his weapon. John shouted. Now! Sela raised both hands. The room trembled. The servers flickered. Strax fired. The blast hit Sela in the side. She cried out, falling. John tackled Strax. Both crashing into a wall. The timer on the device ticked down 20 seconds. Strax threw John off, raising his blade. But Sela stood again. Bleeding, glowing, no more, she whispered. She raised one hand and light exploded from her palm. Strax screamed as his body cracked apart, armor breaking under the energy. He fell unmoving. John ran to Sela. We have to go. But she looked weak, too weak. The timer hit 10 seconds. Sela grabbed John's hand and pressed something into it. A ring. Her ring. You go, she said. This will hide you. John shook his head. No, not without you. I can't make it, John, she said. But you can. Tears filled his eyes. Don't ask me to leave you. She smiled softly. You already saved me once. Now let me save you. She pushed him toward the exit. The timer hit 5. 4. John looked back one last time. She stood tall, glowing like a star. 3. 2. 1. The tower exploded in a wave of blue light. From orbit, the Sparrow burst through the clouds, autopilot active, flying away from the fire. Inside, John sat in silence, the ring still warm in his hand. Inside the Sparrow, tools and wires lay scattered across the floor. John lay under the control panel, fixing the damage from their emergency jump. Sparks flew again. He grunted. Sela sat nearby, quiet, watching him. Her eyes were full of thought. Do you think they'll stop looking for me? She asked. John rolled out from under the panel, face covered in grease. He looked tired but calm. No, he said honestly. Not a chance. Sela's shoulders dropped. But, he added, they'll have a hard time catching us again. She gave him a small smile. I hope you're right. John stood and stretched. We'll stay in this asteroid field a while. Keep the engines cold, let things cool down. Maybe trade some scrap nearby. But Sela's face changed. Her eyes narrowed. She stood suddenly. Someone's coming. John frowned. I don't see anything on radar. Before he could finish, the ship jolted. Something had. John grabbed his blaster and motioned for her to hide. Stay low. Don't make a sound. The ship hissed as the back door slowly opened. Boots hit the floor. Then a voice, low, raspy, cold. Well, Long time no see, little spark. John peeked around the corner, a tall man in black armor. Walked into the ship. His body was covered in old weapons and cybernetics. One glowing eye scanned the room. He moved like a ghost. John stepped out. Blaster ready. Not another step, the man smiled. Relax, hero. I'm not here for you. I just want what I'm owed. Sella stepped out slowly, her voice trembling. Raxus. John glanced at her. You know him? She nodded. He helped me escape the first time. Then he sold my location to the highest bidder. Raxus laughed. That was business. You didn't pay. Strax did. And now, well, looks like I got another offer. Even higher. He raised a wrist device. A red light blinked. I tagged your ship when I landed. Send your signal again, and I get paid double if I bring you in alive. John fired. Raxus dodged too fast. His armor absorbed most of the shot. He returned fire, and John dove behind a seat. Wrong move, old man. Raxus growled. Sella raised her hand. Her wrist ring glowed. The lights in the ship flickered. The air grew colder. Raxus turned to her. Oh, I remember that trick, but you're tired, aren't you? You can't hold me off forever. John rolled to the side and fired again, this time hitting Raxus in the leg. The bounty hunter staggered back. Sella focused. Her eyes glowed. The ship's gravity shifted slightly, just enough to throw Raxus off balance. John charged forward, tackling him. The two crashed into a control panel, sparks flying everywhere. Raxus swung hard, punching John in the ribs. John groaned but didn't stop. He reached into his belt and pulled a small shock pin. He jammed it into Raxus's armor. The device beeped and a pulse of electricity shot out, lighting up Raxus like a broken robot. He screamed, stiffened, and fell. Sella rushed forward. Is he dead? John shook his head. No, but he'll sleep for a while. He grabbed the bounty hunter's device and smashed it under his boot. No more tracking. Sella looked at John, eyes wide. You didn't have to do all this. Yes, I did, John said. Because you're not a bounty. You're not a weapon. You're a person, and you matter. Sella slowly stepped forward and hugged him. John froze for a second, then gently hugged her back. I don't deserve this, she whispered. None of us do, he said. But we fight for it anyway. Far away, Strax got a report. Raxus failed, he growled. Then I'll deal with them myself. Dust exploded behind John and Sella as they sprinted across the dry rock. The sky above them turned red. Strax's ships had arrived. The ground shook under their feet. Explosions rained down in the distance. They're bombing the ridge. John shouted, Faster, Sella. Sella clutched the blanket around her shoulders, stumbling but moving. The ring on her wrist flickered faint blue, trying to hide her from scanners. Behind them, the sky filled with dropships. John tossed the round metal disc Koran had given him into the air. It clicked, beeped, and then a pulse shot out, distorting the area like water. Sensors jammed. He said, We've got 10 seconds. They slid down a rocky slope toward the Sparrow, parked just under the cliff. Dust covered her hull, but she still waited like a loyal dog. John ran up the ramp. Get inside. Sella climbed in, and John followed, slamming the hatch shut behind him. The ship roared to life. Above them, a drone locked onto their position. Too late. The Sparrow lifted off just as a laser blast slammed into the ground where they stood. Blast tossed the ship sideways, but John held the controls tight. Hold together, baby, he muttered. Just a few more seconds. Sella gripped the edge of the chair. They're everywhere. John's eyes darted around the screen. 4 fighters, 2 closing fast. I know, he said, flipping a switch. Time to try that thing I never tested. What thing? Sella asked, wide-eyed. John grinned. Hyperjump mod. Built it myself. Might work. Might explode. Sella groaned. You're insane. I get that a lot. He pulled the lever. The Sparrow's engine screamed like a dying animal. The stars stretched. The ship shook violently. Then nothing but silence. They were gone, aboard. Strax's ship, an officer yelled. Target jumped. We lost them. Strax didn't blink. They won't get far. The ring only hides her from scans, not from fate. He turned to his second officer. Send the bounty signal. Every hunter, every corner of space. I want them chased like animals. Back inside the Sparrow, the jump ended with a violent jolt. Sparks flew from the console. Smoke rose. Engines fried, John muttered. He turned to Sella. You okay? She nodded. Where are we? John checked the screen. Middle of nowhere. A mining belt, no planets, just rocks. Sella looked out the window. We're safe for now. John leaned back, exhausted. That was close, too close. Silence filled the cabin for a moment. Then Sella spoke, soft and unsure. Why are you helping me, John? I'm not human. I'm not even real. Not in the way you are. John looked at her. You breathe. You bleed. You laugh. You cry. You risked your life to save mine. That's real enough. She smiled faintly. I don't know what happens next. Neither do I, he said. But we'll face it together. Sella leaned her head on his shoulder. The blanket wrapped around both of them now. The cold ship didn't feel so cold anymore. Far away, in a dark station floating beyond known charts, a figure leaned over a comms unit. He was covered in scars, metal parts woven into his skull. His eyes were deep and dead, but sharp. The bounty signal reached him. Target: female, alien, high reward, alive only. He smiled, slow and cruel. Know that girl, he whispered. She owes me. He stood, reaching for his gun. Time to collect. The Sparrow glided through quiet space, stars drifting like snowflakes. John stared at the star map. His finger hovered over a small, red-marked planet, Dralis 9. That's where he is? He asked. Sella nodded. His name is Koran. He used to work for the program. He helped me escape once. John narrowed his eyes. And now? She looked down. Now? He only helps for a price. John sighed. Great. We're broke, hunted, and flying straight into the arms of a guy who sells secrets for food. Sella touched his hand gently. He owes me. Maybe he remembers. John didn't like it. But he didn't have a better idea. All right, he said. Dralis 9 it is. Dralis 9 wasn't a nice place. It was dry, dusty, and smelled like rust. Broken ships lay scattered across the surface, like bones from old wars. The sky was dark orange, and the air tasted like metal. John landed the Sparrow behind an old cliff ridge. He powered down everything but life support. Sella pulled the blanket tight around her shoulders. We walk from here. They climbed over rocks, past scrap piles, and through narrow alleys carved from old metal. They reached it, an old bunker hidden behind a crashed freighter. Sella knocked twice, then once, then waited. A voice came through the door. You should be dead. Good to see you too, Koran, Sella said. The door hissed open. A tall alien stood inside, half his face covered in tech implants. His left eye glowed red. His arms were heavy with cybernetic armor. He stared at John. Who's the human? My friend, Sella said. He saved me. Corinne grunted. Then he's dumber than he looks. Come in. Inside, the bunker was filled with blinking lights, dusty screens, and strange weapons. It felt like a mix of lab and battlefield. Corinne sat at a control chair and lit a small pipe. I tracked you too, he said. Strax has every bounty hunter on this side of the galaxy chasing you. John crossed his arms. Why? What does he want with her? Corinne looked at Sella. You didn't tell him? Sella looked away. Corinne smirked. She's not just a failed project. She's the last one, the only one that survived. John's brow furrowed. Survived what? The Omega Pulse program, Corinne said. They built weapons using children. Most of them died. Sela lived. But she was never supposed to leave the lab. And now, he pulled up a holoscreen. It showed a glowing cube. She's the key. Her blood holds the map to something ancient. Something powerful. Strax wants to unlock it. But he needs her alive. Sela whispered. He used to call me his golden code. John stared at her. So, you're not just special. You're the most valuable thing in the galaxy. I didn't ask to be, she said quietly. Corin stood and walked over. So what's the plan, human? You gonna protect her with that old junk ship in your soft heart? John didn't blink. Yes. Corin raised an eyebrow. You're either brave or stupid. Both, John said. Corin chuckled. Good. I like that. He walked to a locked container and pulled out a small black box. Inside was a thin metal ring with glowing blue lines. Put this on her, he said. It'll hide her signature, block Strax's trackers. Sela took it carefully and slid it onto her wrist. It fit perfectly. The glow around her body dimmed. You bought us time, John said. Corin leaned close. Don't waste it. Suddenly, alarms blared. Corin checked a screen. Ships incoming. Military signal. John grabbed Sela's hand. Back to the Sparrow. Now, Corin tossed John a metal disc. Use this. It'll block their sensors for 10 seconds. That's all you'll get. John nodded. Thank you. As they ran from the bunker, Sela looked back. Will you be okay? Corinne smiled. I always am. High above, Strax's command ship appeared in orbit. He stared at the screen. She's there, I feel it. Behind him, a fleet of black ships readied for descent. End the planet if you must, Strax growled. I want the girl. The Sparrow floated in the shadow of a quiet asteroid. Power was off. Lights were dim. No signals, no heat, no noise. John sat on the floor beside the bunk, watching Sela sleep. Her skin looked dull now. Her breathing was shallow. She used too much energy, he whispered to himself. Whatever she did to those drones, it nearly killed her. He stood, walked to the small storage unit, and pulled out a blanket, an old one with tears. Gently, he placed it over her. Sela stirred. Her eyes opened just a little. You stayed, she said softly. Of course, John said. I don't leave people behind. She gave him a small smile. You're kind. That's dangerous. John leaned against the wall, arms crossed. You said someone hurt you, that they're coming. Who is he? Why does he want you? Sela looked at him, then slowly sat up. They called me a project, she said, not a person. I was grown in a lab, trained to control energy. They said I was a weapon, but I didn't want to hurt anyone. John's eyes widened. A weapon? I escaped, she continued. I ran for years, hiding on ships, in slums, sleeping in corners like trash. And then, I met you. John was quiet for a long time. He looked at her carefully. Do you want to hurt people now? No, she said, shaking her head. I want to be free. I want to feel safe. John gave a small chuckle. Well, you picked the wrong guy. I'm broke. I smell like engine oil, and my ship's older than dirt. Sela smiled again. But you gave me a blanket. They both sat in silence for a moment. Then a light blinked on the console. Someone scanning us. John muttered. He rushed to the cockpit and switched to manual. Looks like a patrol cruiser. Small, but military. Sela peered beside him, still weak but standing. Strax found us, she said. John clenched his jaw. No weapons, no shields, just rocks and luck. He paused, then smirked. Maybe that's enough. Outside, the patrol cruiser hovered close. A voice crackled through the Sparrow's comms. Unidentified ship, power down. Prepare for boarding. We are searching for a fugitive alien female. You are harboring stolen government property. John pressed the button and replied calmly. This is Captain Merrick of the Sparrow. I've got no cargo, no credits, and no patience. Try boarding, and you'll regret it. There was silence, then a laugh. Brave words for a man flying junk. Suddenly, small boarding pods launched. From the cruiser, 3 of them. John turned to Sella. Can you stop them? Sella shook her head. Not again. I'm too weak. All right, John said, breathing hard. Time for a stupid plan. He fired up the engines and shot forward straight toward the cruiser. Sella gasped. Are you crazy? Yup, he said. But they won't expect it. The Sparrow dodged the pods, racing close to the cruiser's hull. John opened the cargo bay and dumped fuel tanks out into space. He pulled back and fired a flare shot. The tanks exploded, creating a blinding flash and static across scanners. John twisted the ship into a spin, hiding behind a large asteroid. Cruiser lost them in the flare. They can't track us for now, John said. We bought time. Sella looked at him with new eyes. You're not just kind, she whispered. You're clever. John shrugged. I've been running from debt collectors for years. Same idea. They both laughed just a little. But it felt good. Then John grew serious. We can't keep running forever, he said. If you want freedom, we need a plan. And maybe some help. Sella nodded. I know someone, she whispered. But he's dangerous too. Far away, Commander Strax slammed his fist on the console. She's still alive. A new figure entered the room, face hidden in shadow. Strax growled. They're going to him. I can feel it. The figure smiled. Then let them. He won't let her go for free. The Sparrow drifted through space, silent and slow. Inside, John fixed the wires under the control panel. Sparks flew. He cursed softly. Sella sat nearby, wrapped in the same blanket. She watched him without blinking. Ship's old, John muttered. But she flies. Sella didn't answer. She hadn't said much since they left the station. Only her eyes spoke, always watching, always searching. Where are you from? He asked, wiping his hands on a rag. She looked away. All right. Number. Pressure, he sighed. We'll head to Vega Outpost. Maybe get some work. Get you warm food. Sella stood and walked to the small window. Her voice was quiet. He's coming. John paused. Who? She turned, her face pale. The one who hurt me. He'll come. He always finds me. John frowned. What do you mean? Who is he? But Sella didn't answer. She just hugged the blanket tighter. Back at the port, Commander Strax stood inside a black military dropship. His eyes glowed behind his helmet. A holoscreen showed the Sparrow's image and trajectory. She is not supposed to survive, he said coldly. She holds the key to our failure. An officer beside him spoke nervously. We tracked the ship's ID. The pilot is John Merrick, ex-freighter captain, no military record. Then he's disposable, Strax said. Send the hunters. On board the Sparrow, John prepared the small cabin for landing. He didn't trust Vega Outpost, but it was better than nothing. Suddenly, the ship rocked. Warning lights flashed red. Impact detected, the computer said. John jumped from his seat. What the hell was that? Sella's face turned pale. They found us. Outside the window, 3 small attack drones zipped through the dark. They fired again, blasts striking the Sparrow's hull. John cursed. I don't have weapons for this. He turned sharply, dodging more blasts. The Sparrow groaned. Under pressure. Sella, buckle in. But Sella didn't move. She stood near the control board. Her hands began to glow faint blue. What are you doing? John asked. She closed her eyes. Outside, one of the drones suddenly stopped. Then it exploded into dust. John's jaw dropped. You did that. Sella opened her eyes. Her nose bled. She looked weak, but nodded. I can stop too, she whispered. But not all, we must hide. John took the controls and dived the ship into a nearby asteroid field. Rocks spun around them. The last two drones chased, firing wildly. He used every trick he knew: tight turns, engine flares, even shutting power for a moment to disappear from scanners. Finally, one drone clipped a rock and exploded. One left. John turned hard, spinning between two giant stones. The last drone followed. Sela raised her hand. Her eyes glowed brighter this time. The drone stopped mid-air, like frozen. Then, slowly it cracked apart, piece by piece, until nothing remained. She fell to her knees. John rushed to her. Sela. Her skin was cold. Her eyes half closed. I'm tired, she whispered. John lifted her carefully. You saved us, he said softly. But how? Sela rested her head against his chest. I'm not what they say I am. But I'm not safe either. Back on the dropship, Commander Strax watched the drone feed go black. He clenched his fist. She's evolving, he said. The officer beside him asked, do we still pursue? Strax turned, his voice full of hate. No, we hunt. And we burn everything in our way.